Marhaba and welcome to this new episode of the Jeel Msh Daye podcast. Jeel Msh Daye is a platform showcasing young leaders taking action and generating impact in the Middle East and North Africa, in the region itself and in the diaspora. Often labelled as Jeel Daye or the lost generation, what we are is a generation that is growing out of the colonial legacies, broken systems and constant state of crisis. Yet, we're still creating, organizing, innovating, and imagining new futures where ideas flourish. In this podcast, we discuss topics for young people by young people, ranging from entrepreneurship, NGOs, sustainability, research, politics, activism, and more, showing إنه هذا الجيل مش ضايع. Hi everyone, welcome to this new episode of the Jeel Msh Daye podcast. In this episode, we have the amazing Inès Aribi from Droit dans les Yeux, and we're hoping to showcase the amazing youth initiative that she's driving. Its youth initiative is a response to social and popular injustices in France based on social, economic, racial, and class factors. And through this conversation, we're hoping to discuss the purpose and vision behind Droit dans les Yeux, the logistics of founding your own NGO, and the projected impact on the ground for the quartiers, or like the suburbs of Paris and France, in which Droit dans les Yeux operates. And beyond Droit dans les Yeux, we're looking forward to speak with the amazing Inès, who has more to her amazing talents beyond Droit dans les Yeux. So we're really happy to have you as part of this episode today.
Hi. Well, thank you for welcoming me to this episode. I'm super excited to be able to talk about Droit dans les Yeux and more topics. It's a very good initiative that you had to create this this platform as well. And I'm also very excited to discover your next, your next projects and events and everything.
Well, thank you so much. I'm first of all really grateful that you accepted to be part of this conversation. I think like your perspective is really unique because we'll talk about this more in the episode, but you bring like kind of like the vulgarization of law and like making it more accessible, which is something quite unique. And so yeah, it's going to be a great addition to our portfolio of episodes, let's say. So yeah, first of all, I wanted you to do like a very generic introduction to yourself, just because our listeners want to know you necessarily. So be great, just like very brief, and then maybe we can delve deeper into the topics we're going to discuss today.
Yes. Well, my name is Inès. I'm 24 years old. I'm a trainee lawyer, which means that I'm currently studying at the bar school in order to become a lawyer. So in France, we study law first and then we go to the bar school. And in parallel, I have this project, which is called Droit dans les Yeux. It was founded in 2023 after a tragic event that happened in France, which was the death of Nahel. He's a young man from the suburbs, a city called Nanterre, and he was killed and shot by the police. And this created a lot of riots, but at Droit dans les Yeux, we don't like the term riot because for us it doesn't reflect the reality of the situation. When you live in a suburb and something very tragic happens and people uprise, we call it more révolte populaire in France.
Okay. Very nice.
When we study and talk about these topics, it's very important for us to use the right semantic to qualify the right concepts.
100%.
And we figured that a lot of young people were arrested, incarcerated sometimes without knowing their rights. And we decided to create this project in order to organize workshops about rights and law. So we often meet young people and talk about their rights in front of the police, for example, or their rights in case of racism, if they're a victim of racism, or even like more broader topics. It can be everything related to law, and it's not always young people, but it's mainly young people. We also use social media a lot, so Instagram mainly. We publish twice a week, we publish articles about law, about rights, about also the news, about international news also, such as Palestine, for example. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think it's a great place to start for people who don't know Droit dans les yeux. But beyond the initiative, as I said, I wanted to talk a bit more about you, Inès. So I'd love for you to take us back to before Droit dans les yeux existed. Who were you? Where did you grow up? What did you do before? And what was your relationship with law? Did you feel like it was something accessible to you at the time? Yeah, it'd be great to hear more about that fact.
Well, I was raised in Paris and in the suburbs with my mother. We had difficult times when I was younger because she came from Algeria in order to work in France. She was a doctor back in Algeria, but in France, her diploma was not accepted. Her degree was not valid, and it was quite complicated for her to find her place in France, where she wasn't able to do her real job for which she has studied for like 11 years. And so at first it was quite complicated in France, but then she started to have a better situation, and she was always able to give me the best of everything in order for me to study, to be accomplished. And I had the opportunity to study law because I always wanted to how can I explain this? I always I mean, I was not into science, so it was not my thing, math, physics, and everything.
It wasn't an
So
option.
yeah, it wasn't an option. So it was doing letters law or nothing, and I was quite good at it. So it was quite logical for me to be studying law. Also, I was someone who would always talk about everything with everyone, very social, very outgoing. Being a lawyer was the perfect match,
Mm.
according to my personality, and also according to my to the topics that I was interested in, and the struggles that I was involved in from a very young age. And I think it may also have rooted from my my grandfather, who was
Mhm.
involved in Algeria in the revolution, who always talked to me about that. And I don't know, something grew up in me, and
Okay.
it was the quite logical path to go to law. And now I'm almost a lawyer because I'm finishing my studies. And yes.
Well, congratulations on soon to become a lawyer, and shout out to your mom for making this happen. I like we don't give enough credits to parents, especially immigrant parents, who give everything for us to succeed. And
Yeah.
I remember we had a previous conversation. You were mentioning like how the role, like the fact that your mom came from Algeria into the suburbs, so like you had that background, and you once you went to the airport and something happened with the passport. I would love for
Yeah.
maybe we could want to I found that quite interesting because it like kind of like reveals the resentment that we have towards the system, and the fact that like a lot of people from certain backgrounds, including immigrants, don't know their full rights. So maybe if you want to touch on that.
Yes. So it was indeed at the airport. I was with my no, I was not there actually. I was
She told
told
you about it? You were
I
told, yeah,
told
yeah,
about this story because I was very young. So it was just my mother and my grandmother. And
yeah.
so my grandmother was already French back then, but she showed her Algerian passport to the officer, and he said something like, with this passport, you won't be able to do anything in life and to go anywhere.
Mm.
And she then put her French passport on the table, and he felt very dumb. I don't know. He
As
was
she
like,
should.
oh shit, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. But the thing that is very interesting with this story is that if she was not French, it
Mm.
wouldn't be it wouldn't be okay to say this to someone. And so my mother was very, very angry after this happened. When she came back home, she was like, you couldn't stop her. You know, when your mother keeps on talking in the kitchen and the story is done for like hours and she keeps on going with the same story. She was doing this back then, but she was very right about it because she witnessed racism with her own eyes. And I think it was one of the first time it happened, even though it happened often after. And she was often seeing society problems and professional problems through the perspective of racism, and she would always talk to me about it, even though I was very young. And I think that I when I was younger, I didn't realize how true it was that she was actually living uh, racist situations, and that she was a victim of racism. She and
Yeah.
also my grandmother and everyone in my family, actually. And when I grew up, I realized that she was so right, and that she was already very pissed off how things were going for her in France, but she never gave up. She's still there, and now she's actually a doctor. So
Oh,
she finally was able to do the equivalence of the degrees. And yes, I think that this kind of story you hear when you are literally a child can make you see things very differently when you finally grow up.
yeah. So like those stories that you heard, it stuck with you. Like your parents came from Algeria. They had a different um, role, I think, in French society. Also, like the fact that you grew up in the suburbs, you saw other racial discriminations in your area beyond your own family. So I think, like as you said, like those things stayed with you. And how did those predeterminants, let's say, that would lead you to take a very like active, politically active life, how did these eventually lead up to you being part of Droit dans les Yeux and co-founding it with Salome? What happened? I'm like, I love these stories. I said this in another episode, but I love the like the founding stories. Like usually like something random happens before it actually takes place. So it'd be great if you can tell us the story of Droit dans les Yeux.
Well, the story of Droit dans les Yeux is very odd. It was first Salome, so the co-founder and co-president of the association. She posted on Twitter, and she said, well, what happened to the young people who were in the streets after Nahel's death is very, very concerning her. She was like, it's not okay that a lot of young people and children were arrested, were incarcerated back at the time. Why wouldn't we organize a project or something in order to teach some rights and some basic law principle to young people, for them to be able to defend themselves and to know to whom they can go when they have problems like this, when they are affected by police violence and everything. And so I was following her on Twitter, and I answered to her tweet, and I was like, okay, I'm super interested. Can I be in? And 20 other young women did the same. So we created a group chat, and then we created an association, and now we're still here. It's
Love that.
almost 3 years. So yeah,
Oh wow,
all
it's been
started with the
3 years.
tweets. Yeah.
I love that. That is actually crazy. 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So it literally started from a tweet to a real
Yeah.
organization driving impact. It's actually amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I guess it was fate. Like you guys were like-minded. You each brought like something. You brought your legal skills. Were the other ones also from a legal background? The other members of the association?
Well, not everyone. For example,
Okay.
Salome, she studied political science, and
Okay.
especially in the field of security. I studied law, and we have other we have people from other backgrounds. We have people from communication, from finance. So yeah, it's quite diverse. Of course, we have
Nice.
more people from a legal background because it's easier to feel legitimate to go to this kind of project when you studied. But we always tell people who want to join us that it's not a prerequisite that we would like people from very diverse fields, especially because we tend to vulgarize law and we think that it's easier to be heard and understood if it's easy to understand, and if it's only lawyers who read for example, the posts on social media, we would always think that everything is so easy, but it's not. So we like to have a diversity.
So you guys complement each other. So you started with 20 people.
Yes.
Your output was mainly articles and legal workshops. But
Yeah.
what made you?
Well, at first the structure was not very organized. So now we work in different poles. So we have a workshop pole, article pole, and a communication pole. And it's very well organized with the so everyone has its own tasks, and still if you are in the poll article and you want to do a workshop, you can, of course, but it's better now because we found the best way to work together. We also we also now have a bit of money, which was not the case at first, and so some people trust us and fund us now, and we also won prizes. We won the
Amazing.
yes, that's pretty cool. The first one was the Prix des génies de l'égalité des chances. So it's a prize that rewards association who work in order to put some equity between people, and we do this through the perspective of law, but it can also, of course, be for education or other fields.
Yeah.
We also earned another prize this year. It's the prize of the democracy,
Oh, wow.
because we believe that democracy can only happen if everyone knows what democracy is, how they can act, why should we vote, what do we vote for, and everything.
Yeah.
We created a board game recently uh, in order to explain the institutions and democracy and the vote and all the organizations, the public services and everything we have in France. And this is aimed to be played in high schools before, so that people know their rights before being able to vote, because in France you can vote by 18. And yes, we figured that the association was getting bigger the day we figured that we were able to help young people on a very concrete way. For example, we have some people who didn't know very basic rights they have regarding law, especially regarding recourses. So, for
Regarding what,
example,
sorry?
recourses, les recours.
Okay. What's
So
that?
it's like, for example, when you have a decision. So for example, you ask.
Okay.
For example,
Sorry.
you ask for the nationality and they refuse it. So you have a recourse. You can
Yeah.
go buy a
You can
trip.
appeal and say
Appeal and
you
everything.
oppose the decision.
And it's interesting because we met a young woman who asked for the French nationality and she didn't get it. And she thought that the recourse was only consisting in sending an email to the administration, who said no to her requests. But no, you have to go to the tribunal and you have to, well, it's better to have a lawyer and everything. And she didn't know that. So we were able to tell her the procedure and to give her the contact of a lawyer we know who is able to defend her without being paid by her, but he can be paid by the state to do it, and it's called l'aide juridictionnelle in France, and it's something that is aimed for people who don't have the financial resources to afford a lawyer.
Oh my
And
God.
for example, this is very important because it can be about nationality, but it also can be about criminal law, about everything regarding law, also labor law when you have a problem at work and everything. And people don't often know which rights they have, including regarding financial helps, for example, from the state. We try to
Yeah.
make it more accessible for everyone to be able to just survive. I mean, if you have
Yeah.
a problem with law and you don't know that you can have a lawyer for free, and so you don't go to the tribunal, and then it can be very, very complicated, and it can lead
Yeah.
to very difficult situations. So we try to make it accessible. Yeah.
This is like so deep, I feel, because like also you talked about like the price, the price of democracy that you received, like the award,
Yeah.
and like how can you have a democracy if people don't know their rights?
Yeah.
How can you be trusted with upholding people's rights if they're not even aware of them, and
Yeah.
especially if certain segments of society know their rights less? It means that we have different classes of people, those that know their rights because of their social and financial situations and cultural
Yeah.
status, and those that are even more marginalized from society, but also because they're marginalized from society, they're more likely to be targeted, but at the same time, they don't know how to appeal. Which is
Yeah.
the topic. So I really like the name Droit dans les yeux, which means to look the law in the eye. Especially for communities, as I said, we're talking about communities that mostly experience a law being something done to them, like for example, being persecuted, being like targeted through police violence, through the example that you mentioned. So how does it, what does it mean exactly to look law in the eye in the context of the racial inequalities in France? Like, what do you feel like, because you're coming from those like very intersectional backgrounds, at the same time you have that superpower that you are very familiar with the law as a future lawyer. So what do you do of that knowledge, and how do you look law in the eye on a daily basis?
Well, I think that I was very privileged compared to others because I had the opportunity to study. I had the opportunity to know my rights and to also uh, speak out when something was wrong, when I was witnessing injustice. So I had this opportunity, and it's not the case for everyone. And I think that it's very important when you succeed, at least regarding studies, because it's not. For me, success doesn't equal studies or becoming a lawyer and everything. You can succeed in every field, and you can be way happier than me. But what I mean is that I think that it's very important when you succeed in a field, and this field is not accessible to anyone, to be able to transmit it to people and give them the chance to, for in our case, defend themselves. I think that it's very important to do something meaningful with your knowledge. Otherwise, it's wasted, I think.
100%.
And I think the times we're living, especially in France, with the far rights who's rising and rising, and the threats we have for next year, because next year is a very important election in France. It's the
Next year?
next year in 2027,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and times are very, very tough for people. So I believe that it's not something exceptional or great that we're doing with Droit dans les yeux. It's just a duty that we are completing, and
Yeah.
it's also the case for all the partners we have in this journey. So a lot of other associations who work in different fields to fulfill the same objective at the end, which is equity and justice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that looking law in the eye, that's what you said,
Yeah. Yeah.
is well, it's a duty for us now.
And this duty stems from a gap in the political system. And I had the privilege to have a conversation with Inès prior to this recording, but you had mentioned that like droit dans les yeux shouldn't even have to exist. If the system was working properly, you said that
Yeah.
like people knew their rights, and if knowledge wasn't given by privilege and social class, none of this would be necessary.
Yes.
And I feel like that's like when you said that, I obviously I took note of it. It was very interesting because like you're trying to fill the gap that the state should the state's role, and it's almost like a political failure, like in the structure that like yeah, it's almost like a failed democracy if people don't know their rights.
Yeah.
But you saw the opportunity, you took the chance to have an impact, and you did it also in a very innovative way. Because I had a look at your account. Obviously, I've been following it personally for a couple of years now, and you use cultural references, memes, and very accessible language to make law land differently. To most people, law is held. What's the French law book called? Code.
Code.
Le code, just le code.
Le code.
Yeah, like it's like a big red book, I think.
Yeah.
Very like very not very much not accessible.
Yeah.
And yeah, can you tell us a bit more about why you took this approach? Also, you use like a lot of color, a lot of like very nice designs, and makes law look like something fun. So yeah, can you tell us a bit more about the creative process?
For me, there's a very interesting example when it comes to talk about political failure regarding how law isn't accessible. It is the fact that, for example, when you earn a financial help from the state, so for example, you don't work currently, so the state gives you money each month. In France, and in a lot of countries actually, you have to ask for it and you have to do administrative work and papers and a lot of steps. It can take months for you to be able to finally get the thing you earn. But if our political system was working properly, we should be earning the money automatically. I mean, the state knows your situation. They know you don't work. They know you are in this situation because you pay taxes. You are registered basically everywhere, and still you have to ask for everything you earn. And this makes people who deserve help very far from how can I say, from the process. Young people is the category of people who are the most discriminated regarding their access to rights. And it is also because they don't know how to get to their rights. They don't know how to apply for them. They don't know which administrative procedure they have to do. And for me, if society was, doing her job, well, especially the administration, it would be way easier if people could get their help without having to ask for it. And we shouldn't be existing also because we should be taught the basics, at least in law, at school. For me,
Oh yeah,
it, for me, it's not normal that I had to learn a lot of very important thing when I reached university. Well, you should be able to know your rights from a very early age in order to be able to exercise them, actually. And I talk about very basics. I don't talk about the technical aspects of tax law. No, but just the basics. You should be able to learn them at school. And I hope someday Droit dans les yeux won't exist anymore because the state will finally do his job, namely just teaching people what they need to know in order to be citizen, and not only citizens, because when you don't have the citizenship in a country, you are even more discriminated, and you need to know your rights in order to be able to defend yourself. So yeah, it's how we think at Droit dans les Yeux regarding this topic. Concerning creativity, we have a
Yes.
communication poll, and this poll is working very hard in order to make the posts nice and colorful and full of references and everything, because we believe that if we want to be read and understood by a younger generation, it should be something that is not too complicated nor too boring. Actually, we want it to be a bit fun. We want it to be a bit critical, a bit cynical, and we think that it's the best approach. We started recently to do videos as well, because we figured that now with TikTok and everything, it's way easier to watch a video about something than to read a post about it. But we are still doing both, and yeah.
Now, moving on, I think, to a different topic is, as I said earlier, we're not only talking about Droit dans les Yeux today, we're also talking about Inès. And something very interesting about Inès is that she ran in local politics recently, in municipal elections in an area in France called Antony. A right-wing, was it like a right-wing area council, and they had like very interesting stances about Palestine and racism. So can you tell us a bit more about that? How, again, different way for you to drive impact and to see an issue and be like, I'm gonna go and fill that gap. I'm gonna go and do what others are not doing. I'm gonna go and be the voice of young people. So can you tell us a bit more about that, the context of Anthony, and what made you run in the local elections?
Yes. Well, I was part of the left-wing group, which was composed of all left parties, but local parties in the last municipal elections. And it was very important to me to be engaged in this experience, first because I discovered the political campaign from the inside, and it was very interesting. And also because I was super angry against the current mayor of my city, who's problematic about basically everything, and especially about Palestine. Another crazy event in Antony. So it's again about Nael, so the young man I mentioned earlier, who was killed by the police. After his death, so a lot of people, young people, went outside and to protest against systemic police violence and all this climate they are living in the suburbs. And it also happened a bit in Antony. A few damages were done, but not a lot, honestly, but a few happened. And the mayor's answer was to publish in the city's journal a text saying that Black and Arab people in the suburb, especially in Antony, can be champions in sports. And he started quoting the people from Antony who were champions. So this one who's Black has won this prize in France for this sport and stuff. And he was like, you can be a champion. You don't have to be someone who burns. I don't know the word in English, but someone who burns cars and
Yeah.
I don't know, everything outside in the streets. And I was very shocked by the image he was giving of young people in the suburbs. For him, basically, if you are Black or Arab, you can only do sports. You can't be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be anything else. And it's a very colonial perspective and look on the bodies of people from other from ex colonies. When I had the opportunity to enter this group for the municipal elections, I I couldn't say no. It was again a duty to be a part of the people who would protest. We lost, unfortunately, but we done a good score, and I believe next time it would be the good time. Hopefully.
Hopefully, hopefully. It's honestly impressive. And I think personally, okay, so personally, I was surprised when I saw that you ran because I didn't know you could run for elections at this age, which again, I know it might sound silly, but like it's the idea that like I think a lot of people don't even know they can run. You know what I mean? So it's again like beyond legal education. I don't think we have like political education in terms of like what you can actually do, how you can actually engage in politics at your own level. So I think there's also a bit of that. But also it's really interesting when you're talking about how he framed the Black and Arab minorities, uh, basically defining where they belong in political life and that you should stay in your place. Like, don't be involved in politics. Politics should be for this particular class, and you should be engaging in that kind of almost like kind of like removing them from their political identity. And yeah, it's actually crazy like he wrote that. Um, and that triggered something in you and joined the local elections, and I'm very confident that you'll win next time. And so how do you feel like, because obviously this system kind of like removes Black and like North African or like Arab minorities, kind of like removes them from their political identity. How do you find like law gives them back dignity? How do you feel like you running as someone from a minority background? How do you again look law in the eye, politics in the eye, and bring you like your identity and also the minorities you're representing back their legal and political dignity?
Well, I think I always believed that when you convey a message, um, when you run an association, a project, a social project, it is always better to be yourself, included in the people who are, you know, being discriminated or living the problems you struggle against. Because when you are yourself concerned, you give something more to the project. You have something more to bring to the table. Okay. And I always believed it was better to let the people who are affected by the problems run the association, talk about the topics. And I think it's always a plus to understand what people live, even though I do not live the situation they live, but I think I understand them a bit more than someone else, and I think it's the case in every association slash social fields. And whenever people are disconnected from the topics they work in or they talk about, it shows, and they don't create this, this link with the people they work with. And I think it's also, I think about the dignity. It's also about dignity to be able now, as a North African in France, as a woman also. I think it's also about dignity to be able to now convey this messages. And I think it's also about legitimacy. You are always more legitimate to talk about racism when you are yourself Arab, North African, Black, than when you are white.
So you like you want the people who are affected to be in the table, and that's why you like beyond law you try to join local politics to be part of the conversation rather than being talked about in very insensitive articles as you have described.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. We're kind of like nearing the end, and I'm beyond inspired once again by your work and the impact that you're driving. Like honestly, when I found that you run in local elections, I was like, oh my God, like she can't be stopped. She's unstoppable. She is a force of nature, and you are a testament of how this generation is very active. And as you know, our podcast name is Jeel Msh Daye, the generation that isn't lost. that is organizing, that is generating impact. And yeah, you are the embodiment of this concept that we're trying to talk about here. I was just curious, what does this mean? What is this message of a generation that's not lost, generation that's acting, that's making social impact? What does this message of our podcast mean to you personally? And how do you feel like you're representing it every day? And yeah.
Okay. First, I love the name of the podcast. I think it's amazing. It's perfect, actually. So well done for this. And about the message it conveys, I really believe in the peer-to-peer approach. So we tend to be a group of young people helping other groups of young people, and I think that it's very important for us to have people from our generation in our projects, leading it, running it, thinking its frame. So it's by young people, for young people. And myself, I think now that I'm not young enough. So I know that it's gonna be my last year in Droit dans les Yeux, and then I'll leave to be doing my work and other project probably. And I let other people younger than me run the association because they are more legitimate. And sometimes it shows when we when we do the posts on social media and we're thinking about references or memes and we're like, oh my god, this is cringe, this is not fun anymore, this is so 2020, and we start thinking like this. And we know that if younger people take the lead for the next years, it's going to be more sustainable if younger people take the lead for the next years. And I think that it's very interesting that you struggle against the fact that young people are today seen as lazy, as too connected, etc., etc. But we are living very tough times, our generation, which was not the case of our parents and the parents of our parents. And they often criticize how we live nowadays without taking into account the fact that our times are tougher. And I think it's very interesting to show the good in our generation. Also, for example, we use the social media to talk about law, and I think it's one of the good uses of social media to be able to sensibilize, vulgarize, explain things that you wouldn't know if you didn't use Instagram or TikTok at this time. And I think it's a very positive image that you show, and it's a super good message. It's very good what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Inès. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your passion with us, your mission with us. And thank you for all the work that you're driving in France with Droit dans les Yeux. And today, speaking with Inès, we talked about law, we talked about racial inequality and social injustice in France, and how democratizing law with marginalized segments of society can help drive better democracy, and the importance of using social media, importance of using cultural references, workshops, and actually initiative that is made by young people for young people, and the impact that it can have on young marginalized communities. And by speaking with Inès today, we learned a lot about various things, but we also learned إنه هذا الجيل مش ضايع. So thank you so much for showing the good in our generation, and we hope that we get to speak with you again on this podcast at some point, and we will keep following your amazing work from afar and know that you have a big fan here. So thank you so much, Inès.